All right, we're going to do Amud Beis. We had some very interesting Gemara yesterday. The first Amud, still today's Amud. This is for Tuesday, so we're on Ches Amud Beis, and we discussed that in ancient times, and perhaps even today, for sure, if it's a real pagan, which we don't really have today. Even the pagans today call themselves neo-pagans, right? So they're not really like the ancient times. That if a Jew would attend a non-Jewish wedding and eat there, even they're eating kosher food, it's like they're eating an idolatrous sacrifice, and it says called Tleis and Yomin. Yomin amar le machmeselul and lo amar le machmeselul aser. That you're not allowed, a Jew cannot go to a non-Jewish party for a wedding 30 days after the wedding. Even if they don't mention it's for the wedding, you assume that he's making it for the wedding. But after 30 days, it's only if the pagan mentions that he's inviting to celebrate his son's wedding, but otherwise you are allowed to go as long as it's kosher food. It would seem, because in the ancient times, by the weddings, they would bring pagan sacrifices. So how long after the wedding is it prohibited to participate in the banquet, if he does mention that it's for the wedding? Rav Papa Tresar Yarcheshata. So Rav Papa says until 12 months, a whole year passes after the wedding. And when does the prohibition begin? Rav Papa made a Rav Miki Ramu Sari Asinsei. He says when they start preparing for the wedding, for example, they're going to put barley into a barrel to start making beer. Now, how is it that you're allowed to participate after the year? Yitzchak, the son of Rav Mesharshia, said he went to a pagan's house, a friend of his, and 12 months had passed already, and he heard the pagan saying, thanking his idol, and so, even though it was kosher food, Yitzchak Rav Mesharshia didn't eat there. Shiny Rav Yitzchak Breder Rav Mesharshia, the Adam Chashafu. This is different. Yitzchak Rav Mesharshia is a very prominent person. He was a big rabbi, and so the pagan was thanking his idol. Look, I'm a big shot. I have this big rabbi in my house, and that's why it was prohibited. But a regular Jew is not going to make the pagan, feel so honored once a year has passed. But within the year, he's still going to feel like a big shot. Look, these Jews are coming to my wedding, and if he worships idols, so they're going to cause him to worship idols. It's not we're not talking about a non-Jew who worships the one true God of the Bible. We're talking, that for sure. If it's kosher food, it shouldn't be really a problem. We see from this Gemara, although some people might be machmir, there might be room to be strict, to be firm. It depends. If you're not hurting their feelings, and there's ways around it. But from the actual Ikar Adin, it would seem if it's kosher food, it should be okay. There's different opinions. Kretesim. So what is this festival, Kretesim? My Kretesim, or Kretesim. What is this? So Amar of Yehuda, Amar Shmuel Yom Shetapsa Romi Malchus. Kretesim is like the Independence Day of Rome, not really Independence Day, but the founding day of Rome, when Rome became a kingdom. Vasanya kretesim v'yam shtafsa b'yirem malchus. But the Gemara asks, we have another brisa that lists, just like we talked about the Genusia and this. So kretesim and the day, kretesim is a holiday, and the day that the Roman foundation day. So Amr of Yosef state feces tafsa reimi. So if Yosef said there were actually two separate holidays that the Romans celebrate. Achas b'mlei Cleopatra Malksa. So one was during the time of Queen Cleopatra. There were many queens by the name of Cleopatra. That's when Octavian Augustus defeated Cleopatra in the Battle of Actium in the year 31 before the Common Era, and took over her kingdom. And so Kretesim celebrates when the Romans defeated Cleopatra, the queen of Alexandria in Egypt. And another time was earlier in history, in the year 138 or so, before the Common Era, so about over 100 years before the story of Cleopatra, is when the Romans defeated the Greeks, and the Greeks were the most powerful, and then the Romans took over from the Greeks. And so Kretesim is when they defeated Cleopatra, and the foundation day is the day when they defeated the Greeks. And both of those days are, according to one opinion, only Kretesim is a holiday which is a pagan religious holiday, whereas the foundation day is more of a secular holiday, perhaps, and that would be permitted. Whereas the brisa there seems to indicate that both days are prohibited. The halacha mastam was like the Mishnah. Of course, these are all ancient history. We don't do this interesting historical things. Chiyasa Rav Dimi Amar, when Rav Dimi came to Babel, to Babylonia from Eretz Yisrael, from the Holy Land, he gave a little history lesson. He says the Romans fought 32 wars, 32 battles against the Greeks. The Romans couldn't defeat the Greeks until the Romans made an alliance with the Jews. What happened was that the Jews and the after the story of Hanukkah, the Hasmoneans, they founded their kingdom, and they made an alliance with the Romans, but that eventually led to the Roman occupation of Judea. What was the alliance they made? They said that whatever happens, if the Romans become the kings, the Jews will be the governors, and if the Jews become the kings, the Romans will become the governors. So then the Romans sent a message to the Greeks. They said, the Romans said to the Greeks, "You Greeks, you're so interested. You have different traditions in the Greeks. There's the military tradition of the Greeks, but there's also the philosophical tradition of the Greeks and the reasoning tradition. So we've been fighting until now. Let's get into reason and philosophy. What are we going to say? Margolis for Evan Tova. Someone has both a pearl and a gem. The gem we'll assume is more valuable than the pearl. Which one do we set into the other? And you're going to make a jewelry, and you're going to put the setting Are you going to set? Are you going to make a hole in the precious gem and put the pearl into it? Or are you going to make a hole in the pearl and set the gemstone into it? Shalchalu margolos levin toiva. So you should make the hole in the more expensive item, and put the pearl into it. That's what the Greek says. So Evan Toiva Enoch. So what if you have a precious stone and a carbuncle or an onyx, whatever it is? The second one, the carbuncle, we'll call it, is more expensive. Eza mehen yasa basas lechavero, Evan Torva le'enach. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So the precious stone should be the setting for the carbuncle. Oh, so I'm saying the first one I got it wrong. The pearl. No, should be the setting for the precious stone. And then the the precious stone should be the setting for the carbuncle, for the more expensive one. Einach v'sefer Torah. And if you have a carbuncle and a Torah scroll, which should be the setting for the other? Einach the sefer Torah. The carbuncle should be the setting for the Torah scroll. Sholchalahu. So the Romans answers Im Kenan an sefer Torah gaban. Yisrael Bahadan. Kafalahu. So Romans answers, we have a Torah scroll with us. Because the Jews are with us, and so the Romans went and defeated the Greeks. So we see that the reason why the Romans became so powerful is because of their alliance with the Jews. So the Gemara continues, Esrin v'shishnin kamalahu b'nusaya b'ada Yisrael. For 26 years the Romans were good friends to the Jews. Mikan ve'elech ishtabelu. But then they started to subjugate them and occupy them. Mikara my darish. So why did this happen, and where did we find anything in the Bible that hints to this? B'seif my darish, that at first they were friends, in the end they subjugated. Mikara darish nisav v'nelech havlocha l'negdecha. At first they looked at Genesis 33:12, where Esau told Jacob, let's travel on together and we'll go together. B'seif darish yavana adani lifnei avdoi. In the end they said, no, Jacob said, let my master go ahead of his servant. Which means that Jacob said Esau should be the leader that the Jews said that the Romans should lead. And that's where so both the Jews and the Romans recognized this, and this was a part of God's plan. Because everything with Galus and everything, it's all part of God's plan. As in Rishishnin the common how do we know that the Romans kept their word for 26 years? And they were faithful and saw each other as peers instead of as as a master and a servant. Rav Kahana said, Rabbi Yishmael bar Yosi, when Rabbi Yishmael bar Yosi got ill, he sent this message. The rabbi sent him a message. Rabbi Emelanu Shanaim Shloisha Dvarim Shamarta Lanu Mishum Avicha. They asked that he should teach them 2 or 3 of the things that he heard from his father. So the 180 years before the Second Temple was destroyed, the evil Roman Empire conquered the Jews. 80 years before the Second Temple was destroyed, the rabbis decreed that the lands outside of the Holy Land, because they weren't careful, they could just be burying dead anywhere, that those are impure, and glassware could become impure. 40 years before the temple was destroyed, the great court left the temple courtyard, and they sat in another building on the Temple Mount called Chanas. What difference would it make with the location of the great court of Jerusalem? Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Dimi said that they could no longer judge any cases involving a penalty of fines and so forth, that are, meaning they could judge laws of damages and business transactions and pay back what was lost, but they couldn't impose extra fines that the Bible says. Is that what it's talking about? These penalties, like for example, to pay back extra beyond what was stolen and so forth. So is that what they stopped judging? V'amar Yehuda Amarav Bram Zachar Isaish Latov Yehuda ben Bava Shmai Shomale Hu Nishtachu Din Knesses Yisrael. Yehuda said in the name of Rav that we have to remember Yehuda ben Bava was such a great man that if it wasn't for him, we would have forgotten these laws. Nishtachu Sinhu El Batlu Din Knesses Yisrael. Now, would they have been forgotten? Of course not. We still would learn them in the Gemara and in the Bible, in the Mishnah, but rather they wouldn't have been kept. However, so the thing is you need ordained judges to impose these fines, so he kept the ordination going. Which is not like our modern day ordination, which is just like a license to minister, but the actual ancient ordination. So, Shagazer Malchus Yerusha Gezerah, what happened with Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava? The Romans made a decree against the Jews called Seimich Yehareg, called Nismach Yehareg, but Ir Shesemchen ba Nechrov, Techrov was Chum Shesemchen ba Yakir. So the Romans said anyone who ordains a true rabbi, not like we have today, a true judge, or accepts ordination, will be killed. In any city where people are ordained, the city will be destroyed, and the boundaries, the borders of town, shall be eradicated. Meaning, all of the, not only the city will be destroyed, but all the area, the suburbs around it, would be destroyed. Me'asar Yehuda ben Bava halach v'yashav al shnei harim gedolim, ben shtei aros gedolos, ben shnei tchumei Shabbos, ben usha l'shfaram, samach sham chamishes kainim. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava found a place that was between two big mountains, between two big cities, between their two boundaries that they were outside, between Usha and Shfaram. So none of the cities would be destroyed, just in the middle of the mountains. Samach Sham Chamishas Kainim, and he ordained five elders, great rabbis: Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar, and Shemua. Those five: Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar, and Shemua. Those were the great rabbis. That Rabbi Akiva, the students of Rabbi Akiva. Avi Moshe Arthur ben Nehemiah. And Rav Avia said that also Rabbi Nehemiah was also ordained. Kavan Shekiru Behem Oivim Amalahem B'nai Rutzu. When the Romans found this out, or their enemies, maybe they were Jewish enemies, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava said, "Run away," to his students, his sons. When he says my sons, meaning the students. Amrullah Rabbi V'atamate Elecha. But what about you, Rabbi? What's going to happen to you? Amrulahem Hareini Mutal of Naim Kevin She'ein Hovchim. He said, I'm like a rock that they can't turn over. A rock doesn't feel any pain. I'm too old to run away. Let them kill me. Amru lo zazu mishaman shena'atzu l'gufay shlosh meis l'nonoi shel baris l'v'su l'gufay kakvara. So the five younger rabbis ran away, and Rav Huda ben Bava stayed behind. The Romans found him, and they pierced him with 300 iron spears, made his body like a sieve, like a strainer, just spewing out blood, disgusting. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, no, they still tried cases of penalties, but they abolished the death penalty. My timer. So why did they do that? Kevin the chazan official who writes him le'achol meidan armamutav niglei makom makom ki hechad lechayvu. So there were so many murderers, and the courts didn't have the capacity to handle all of them. There were so many murderers, and some of them maybe were unintentional manslaughter. They didn't know. So they said, let's go somewhere else so they won't be liable, because we won't be able to execute them. And so they gave up the power to execute. It wasn't that the Romans took it away from them, but rather that the rabbis decided on their own not to impose the death penalty. What difference does it make where they're located? Because Deuteronomy 17:10 says that you should follow what they tell you from that place, which the Lord will choose, which was Jerusalem. So once they were no longer in the temple, they no longer could. They lost their power. They lost the majority of their power, particularly to judge capital cases. Did the Romans only rule the Holy Land for 180 years before the temple? Wasn't it longer? It was son of Rabbi Yosef Berebi. Malchus Paras B'nei Abai Shloshim Arba Shana. Was it really only 180 years? Because Rabbi Yosef Berebi says that the Persians ruled Eretz Yisrael for 34 years. Malchus Yavin B'nei Abayis Me'av Shmonim Shana. The Greeks for 108 years. Malchus Chashmonai B'nei Abayis Me'av Shalosh. The Hasmonean dynasty for 103. Malchus Beis Hardos Me'av Shalosh. The Herodians 103. That dynasty Mikan Ve'elech Tzeva Chashav Kama Shanim Acha Korban Abayis. From that point on, count how much is left after the temple was destroyed. This fills up the whole 420 years when the second temple stood. The Romans were around for 206 years. So why only 180? So we'll pick this up in tomorrow's daf, which will be Wednesday's daf. All right. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment. And thank you so much for watching. So this was 8 feet.